Good afternoon. We are meeting after long time. I hope you all are keeping well. Today we are going to discuss very famous novel Sons and Lovers, written by D.H. Lawrence or David Herbert Lawrence. David Herbert Lawrence was the famous writer, controversial writer. He was born in 11th September 1885 and died on this month only 2nd March 1930. Why he was controversial? Because he has exposed sexual relationship too much in his novel. And that is why his famous work, The Rainbow, was banned for 11 years, and the Lady Chatterley's Lover was also banned for some time. But yes, he his writing skills was unmatchable, unparalleled, and that's why he's very famous author. As far as Sons and Lovers is concerned, that is somewhat that novel deals with Oedipus complex, and we all know that Oedipus complex is when that's a attraction between two opposite sex. Here that attraction between son and mother, and this opposite one more literary term, that is Electra complex. Electra complex when the relationship between daughter and father, that is called Electra complex. However, Sigmund Freud did not say that that's physical relationship. That is just when, because every relationship has its own boundary, and when we break the boundary, it is known as like mother and son. So son is no doubt mother's womb's part, but he is individual entity, and that's why both mother and son have their own personal life. And then when we encroach someone's personal life too much, that when mother encroaches too much to interferes son's life, that relationship somewhat is known as Oedipus complex. So we are going to see here how mother is too much possessive to her children, especially to her sons. How sons' life are ruined. We are going to check. This novel is all around Morel family. There are number of family members in Morel family. Walter Morel, he is husband of Gertrude Morel, she is wife. Walter Morel is 27 years old, younger than wife, and she is 31 years old. He is a coal miner. He works in coal mining, and wife is a housewife, Gertrude Morel, and she is philosophical, she is educated, learned, but this is love marriage, and that is why after marriage immediately she realizes that she has made mistake, but then nothing can be happen, it cannot be undone. And that's why after some time, this marriage is based on physical attraction, but after some time that attraction is lost, and she realizes that she does not have any attraction to her husband. But life goes on. In between, there are four children. The eldest son is William Morel, then next is daughter Annie Morel, third child is Paul Morel, and fourth is Arthur Morel. They are having four children. William Morel is the eldest son and very good boy, but as novel opens, we come to know that Walter Morel is not able to pay the cost of furniture which is rented, and that's why Mrs. Morel gets irritated because he's a drunkard and he beats his wife Gertrude Morel many a times. When William gets younger, he thinks that he should do something, and that's why he moves to London for job. And he works very well. But what happened that he meets a girl named Lily, and he is having a relationship with Lily, and he brings her to to uh, to her mother. And this the setting of this novel is Nottinghamshire. So actually, D.H. Lawrence was from Nottinghamshire, and it is said that this novel is autobiographical novel. This novel, actually, the story of uh, D.H. Lawrence story. Why? Because Paul Morel is nothing. He is D.H. Lawrence. So anyway, William brings girlfriend to her mother Lily, but Lily is a very selfish kind of girl, and this relationship could not go longer. And one day, that relationship is broken, and unfortunately, the boy William also suffers with uh, skin disease, and that is not curable, and one day William dies. And as we know, in the beginning, we came to know that mother mother Gertrude Morel is just living for her children. Her whole attention is on children, because they have not good relationship. She does not have good relationship with her husband. He is drunkard and she is beaten, and that's why there is very much grudges between both. And that's why when she loses William Morel, and then her attention goes to Paul Morel's second son, and she thinks that I could not take care what should be taken care of Paul Morel, because here Paul Morel is also getting young. So she is in love with Paul Morel, but that's a mother's love. But because of circumstances, her whole attention goes to Paul Morel, and she takes care of Paul Morel like anything. But what happened? That one day, Paul Morel, as he is young fellow, so he meets one girl, Miriam Levers. She is a daughter of peasant, and they live nearby, and she comes from very normal family. And as in the beginning I told you that mother Gertrude Morel, she is a learned lady, and she always tries to maintain her standard, and she does not want to meet average family and below average family. And she tries to keep away her children from poor families. And that is why, as Miriam Levers meets Paul's mother, she does not like, and she interferes between Paul and Miriam's love affair. And then immediately Paul changes his mind, and he feels that I'm doing mistake, because I cannot make my mother sad, and that's why he tries to withdraw. And this Miriam Levers is a very good girl. She is philosophical girl, and they have platonic love. There is no physical relationship between Paul and Miriam, because she says that no, I'm not interested in physical relationship until unless we get married. But what happened that Miriam's friend Clara Dabbs, she is married, and Paul meets Clara Dabbs one day, and then he is in love with Clara Dabbs. Clara Dabbs and Baxter Dabbs, they are separated, but they don't get divorced. And as Paul meets Miriam's friend Clara Dabbs, and he is in love with Clara, and they established physical relationship. After some time, he demands to Clara that you are separated, shall we go for marriage? Then Clara denies. She says, no, I cannot leave my husband Baxter, though we are living separately, but I cannot. Now, what happened? That again he feels alone, but here, because of mother, he feels that I should not give my much attention to others because my mother is alone. She has lost already, she has lost one child, my elder brother William, and that's why I cannot make sad my mother. And he takes much care. But what happened one day, mother will Gertrude Morel, she is diagnosed with cancer, and Paul takes much care of his mother, and what she, day by day, that becomes chronic, the disease becomes chronic, and she is paining like anything. So at last, when novel is going to be summed up, we find that Paul is not, all children they take much care of their mother, but she is paining because of cancer. That's the last stage of cancer, and that's why one day Paul decides to give that uh, overdose of morphia, and he gives, and mother dies. Gertrude Morel dies because he is not able to see her mother's pain, and that's why he decides to give overdose of morphia, and this way she dies. Now, as in the beginning we came to know that all children, they don't have bonding between children and father because of his drunkard. He does not, Walter Morel does not take care of home, and that is why as mother dies, William Morel dies, and here any Morel, she is settled in her life, and same with youngest son Arthur, he is also settled in his life. So who is left alone? Paul and Walter, but they don't have good relationship, son and father, and that's why as mother dies they are separated, and they sell their home, and they go to shift to another one apartment where they live separately. Now at the end, Paul is all alone in the world, and he decides to commit suicide, but he could not. And one day, he, at the end, as a reader we come to know that he goes, he is moving alone in his life, and here novel ends. So now we have seen that this is a psychological novel where number of themes like separation, like psychological problem, like industrialization, like money, right? So many themes have been covered. And as novel's name was, that was, novel's name was Sons and Lovers. Now question arises, how son can be a lover to mother? Never. So Sigmund Freud did not talk about physical relationship. He says one term, that is Oedipus complex. When son is more attracted to mother, that is called Oedipus complex, and another is called Electra complex, that is just opposite to Oedipus complex, when father and when daughter attracts too much to father and she sees like Cry the Peacock. That's a novel of Electra complex where Maya thinks for too much. She compares her husband with her father and she demands the same treatment from her husband, and that's why her marriage is failed. So that is called Electra complex. That's a relationship between daughter and father, and this is son and mother. In this novel we have seen that lot of pressure, mother gives lot of pressure to her sons especially, and that's why two sons are victimized, Walter and Paul, because of her over possessiveness. And in this Indian society where we live, we have seen so many marriages are broken up because of this. Why? Because every relationship has its own periphery, own limitations. And when, no doubt, that's a son or daughter is the part of mother's womb, but then they come in on this world, so they are separate entity, separate body, and that's why every relationship, though it's mother or son, they have their own limitations. So mother cannot expect too much from son, that each and everything should be shared by son. Why? Because at the end we have seen that Paul, actually this novel earlier its name was Paul Morel, but then author has changed, and then that becomes Sons and Lovers. And that title suggests that this is somewhat this novel is dealt with Oedipus complex, right? Why? Because of too much over possessive in son's life, and that's why she has lost her both the sons. At the end of the novel, Paul is nowhere, and that's Paul's life is spoiled like anything, and he is just dead body. He cannot, he could not commit suicide. At the same time, he cannot live in this world. So message of this story is that we have to know our, we cannot victimize our sons or our children because of our problem. We have, we know that that is one separate entity. We cannot indulge much in their personal matters. So that is something Sons and Lovers. Now in very soon we are going to meet to another topic, that is Mrs. Dalloway. Thank you.